The difference between ordinary individuals and those who rise above circumstances lies in the way they think. Life is not always fair, challenges are not always avoidable, and setbacks are not always temporary, but the way you choose to interpret them determines whether you stay down or stand tall. Mentally strong people do not waste time complaining about what they cannot control. They focus their energy on what they can change. They know that every obstacle contains a hidden seed of opportunity, and instead of asking, "Why me?" they ask, "How can this situation make me stronger?" When the average person gives in to fear, the mentally strong person sees fear as a signal that growth is near. They understand that success is never about avoiding discomfort. It is about walking straight into it and using it as a stepping stone. They do not fear failure because they know failure is not the opposite of success but the path to it. Every rejection, every loss, every mistake is simply feedback, guiding them closer to the breakthrough they are destined for. Mentally strong people think differently about time. While others waste hours dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, they focus on the present moment with intensity. They use their time wisely, investing it in learning, creating, and building habits that align with their dreams. They refuse to let temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. Instead, they rise above their feelings, letting discipline guide their choices. They also think differently about people. Instead of comparing themselves with others, they compare themselves only with who they were yesterday. They know that envy and jealousy drain power, but gratitude and self-improvement multiply it. They are not threatened by the success of others. They are inspired by it, seeing it as proof that greatness is possible for them too. Where others see limitations, mentally strong people see possibilities. Their minds are trained to search for solutions rather than excuses. They understand that the quality of their thoughts determines the quality of their life, and so they guard their minds with intention. They feed themselves ideas of abundance, courage, and perseverance because they know that what they plant in the mind eventually blossoms in reality. The world will always present struggles, but mentally strong people think differently because they have decided that no circumstance is greater than their willpower. No failure is final, and no storm can destroy a spirit that refuses to give up. If you want to transform your life, start by transforming your thoughts. Decide today to think like the strong, to act like the resilient, and to live like the unstoppable. Because the truth is simple. Your mind is your greatest weapon, and the way you choose to think will decide the destiny you create. When people talk about strength, they most imagine physical power, the ability to lift heavy weights or endure pain in the body. But the greatest strength a human being can develop is mental strength. The ability to think differently when the world seems to push them toward fear, doubt, or defeat. One of the most powerful key points about mentally strong people is that they refuse to allow fear of failure to control their decisions. Where many people see failure as the end of the road, they see it as a teacher, a stepping stone, a necessary part of progress. Expanding on this one principle reveals an entire philosophy of life, one that can reshape how anyone approaches goals, challenges, and the pursuit of greatness. Most people are conditioned from a young age to believe that failure is something to be ashamed of. A child who brings home poor grades is scolded. A worker who makes a mistake is criticized. Society has painted failure as the opposite of success, something to avoid at all costs. But mentally strong people do not think this way. They understand that every accomplishment worth achieving is built on countless failures. The inventor who creates something revolutionary has failed dozens or hundreds of times in the laboratory. The athlete who breaks records has lost more games than the average person has even played. The entrepreneur who builds a business empire has likely gone bankrupt or struggled financially at some stage. Failure is not the end. It is part of the process, and mentally strong people embrace this truth instead of running from it. Think about it. Every skill you have today, walking, speaking, writing, even riding a bicycle, was learned through trial and error. You stumbled, you mispronounced, you fell, you scraped your knees. Yet you kept going, and eventually mastery came. As children, we accept failure naturally. We try again and again without shame. But as adults, fear creeps in, and people become hesitant, paralyzed by the thought of looking foolish. Mentally strong people break free from that conditioning. They return to the childlike persistence that once helped them grow. They know if failure is not a reflection of their worth, but evidence of their effort. It is proof they are moving, striving, daring to do what most are too afraid to attempt. To think differently about failure requires courage, but more than that, it requires perspective. Mentally strong people view every setback as data, as information that helps them improve. If a plan does not work, they do not label themselves as incapable. They analyze the outcome, adjust their strategy, and try again. To them, failure is feedback. They imagine a scientist running experiments in a lab. When one experiment fails, it does not mean the scientist is worthless. It simply means that one specific method did not produce the desired result. The scientist then modifies variables, tries new approaches, and it eventually arrives at a discovery. Life works the same way. Each failure is an experiment, a chance to learn, to grow, to refine one's path. This way of thinking transforms how mentally strong people live day by day. Instead of hiding from challenges, they seek them out. They choose the difficult path over the easy one because they know difficulty breeds growth. They understand that greatness never emerges from comfort zones. The more a person fails, the more experience they gain and the more wisdom they collect. While others chase security and safety, mentally strong people chase growth. They are not reckless. They are simply unafraid to risk short-term discomfort for long-term transformation. Another reason mentally strong people embrace failure is because they do not tie their identity to a single outcome. Many people think, if I fail at this, it means I am a failure as a person. That belief crushes confidence. But those who are mentally strong separate results from identity. They know that failing at something does not make them failures. It simply means that particular attempt did not work. Their value as human beings remains intact, and their potential remains unlimited. Because of this separation, they bounce back faster than most. When they fall, they do not stay down. They rise, dust themselves off, and face the challenge again. There is also a deeper psychological power in how mentally strong people handle failure. They reframe it as opportunity. Instead of saying, I failed, they say, I learned. Instead of saying, this didn't work, they say, now I know what doesn't work. This subtle shift in language completely changes their emotional state. It prevents discouragement from taking root and keeps motivation alive. The truth is, the words you use shape the reality you experience. By deliberately choosing empowering interpretations of failure, mentally strong people keep their inner world aligned with resilience, determination, and hope. If you look at history, every great figure who changed the world thought this way. Thomas Edison, after thousands of failed attempts at creating the light bulb, said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Imagine if he had given up after the first 100 failures. Imagine if he had allowed society's judgment to silence him. The world as we know it might have remained in darkness for decades longer. Mentally strong people understand that behind every invention, every breakthrough, every success story, lies a mountain of failures that most never see. They draw inspiration from this reality, and it fuels their persistence. This way of thinking also shields them from the toxic opinions of others. The majority of people are quick to criticize when they see someone stumble. They laugh, they gossip, they label. But mentally strong people think differently. They do not measure themselves by the shallow opinions of onlookers. They know that critics are often spectators who have never stepped into the arena of real effort. Failure in their eyes is a badge of honor, evidence that they dared to attempt something meaningful. Instead of feeling ashamed, they feel proud of the courage it took to try. This pride energizes them, and their resilience grows stronger with each attempt. Failure also gives mentally strong people an advantage that others overlook. It builds humility. Success without failure often breeds arrogance, but repeated failure teaches patience, empathy, and understanding. It reminds them that everyone struggles, that growth takes time, and that persistence is the true measure of strength. Humility then becomes a powerful ally, helping them connect with others, stay grounded, and avoid the destructive pride that ruins many who rise too quickly without a strong foundation. Thinking differently about failure does not mean enjoying it or wishing for it. It means respecting it, accepting it, and using it as fuel. Mentally strong people do not chase failure for its own sake, but when it arrives, and it always does, they embrace it as part of their journey. They allow it to sharpen their character, strengthen their resolve, and increase their wisdom. They see each failure as a page in the story of their ultimate triumph. The difference, then, between those who live ordinary lives and those who achieve extraordinary things is not that the successful never fail, but that the successful never quit. The mentally strong refuse to let failure define them. They use it, transform it, and rise above it, while others allow it to defeat them. This one shift in thinking, viewing failure as feedback instead of finality, sets them apart in every field, every challenge, every pursuit. Every person has the capacity to adopt this mindset. It does not require wealth, talent, or special circumstances. It requires only a decision to stop fearing failure and start embracing it as an ally. The mind must be trained daily, like a muscle, to interpret setbacks with resilience. Each time you fail, you have a choice to let it crush you or to let it shape you. Mentally strong people always choose the latter. They train their minds to respond with courage, to stay focused on the bigger picture, and to never forget that failure is simply unfinished success. The beauty of this principle is that it applies universally. Whether you are pursuing education, building a career, developing relationships, or chasing personal dreams, failure will come. That is not a prediction, it is a guarantee. But the way you think about it will determine everything that follows. Those who fear it will stop before they reach their potential. Those who embrace it will keep going until they succeed. The path to greatness, therefore, is not a straight line, but a zigzag of failures, lessons, and recoveries. Each failure strengthens your foundation, making you capable of carrying the weight of bigger success in the future. Mentally strong people know this, and it gives them patience. They are willing to endure short-term pain for long-term gain because they understand the deeper pattern of life. In the end, thinking differently about failure is more than just a tactic. It is a way of living. It transforms how you see yourself, how you approach challenges, and how you navigate the world. Mentally strong people embody this mindset, and it gives them an unshakable power. While others stop, they continue. While others fear, they act. While others see the end, they see the beginning. This is the key point that separates them from the crowd. They do not let failure end their story. Instead, they let it shape their journey into something greater. And because of this, they rise, they grow, they achieve, and they inspire. The journey of mental strength is not about avoiding struggle, and nor is it about never falling. It is about refusing to let those struggles define who you are. Failure, pain, rejection, and setbacks will come to everyone, but what separates the weak from the strong is the choice to rise after every fall. To see every defeat as a lesson, and to treat every obstacle as a stepping stone. The truth is that success is not reserved for the talented or the fortunate. It belongs to those who train their minds to think differently, to those who turn fear into fuel, loss into wisdom, and failure into growth. If you choose to strengthen your mind, to control your perspective, and to never surrender to temporary defeat, then there is no limit to what you can achieve. Your mind will become your greatest power, and your life will become the proof that strength of thought is the foundation of all greatness.